Don't do it.
All right, so we're gonna.
What's your problem, Zach?
My problem is. My problem is I don't know enough about 3 blades and what the pros and cons of them are compared to a 2 blade. So that's what we're gonna talk about. So I guess give me the spiel of at least the pros to start, and then I'll ask questions as we go.
Sure. So most people are probably pretty surprised to see the Ransberry holding that. I know Zach is. Okay, this is the Ransberry 3 blade. This is actually through Serious Archery. Has the fancy Ransberry label on it. It's freaking fancy. You might be wondering why. You're the big old single bevel guy, 400, 1,000 grain arrows and all that. And why would I support shooting a 3-blade broadhead over going single bevel? I want you to eventually end up there. We talked about fishing yesterday. If you don't have the worm that the fish are eating and your buddy's kicking your ass, you go buy that worm, right? Or if some rod and reel is different or something like that. So I view the bow hunting journey as it's a journey. You don't just, most people don't go, hey, I'm shooting the old 400 grain Twizzler in the flap and I'm going to 700 and a tough head and learning to sharpen and tune and bare shaft and all this stuff. It's a progression, it's steps. So one of my goals is to get you to take a couple of steps forward from where you're at. And this is a great solution if you're shooting a replaceable blade broadhead that may be coming apart, or you're shooting mechanicals, but you're curious.
Yes.
Right? Don't tell your friends. You can hide in the dark. Call me. Whatever. I'll give you emotional support. But in all seriousness, this is a great step forward. There's a lot of advantages to this head. Now, I'm going to caveat this with, even if you're shooting 700 grains, I would not shoot a hard bone, quarter-in intentional forward shot with these. They are a wedge.
Yeah.
I have a video on my channel. There's a picture of me with a potato, and I shove a single bevel through the potato. This is Ed Ashby's deal. It's in the study. And I have a rotating
Let's
outsert.
wait for this.
Yeah. One plane.
Look at that. Holy crap.
Military?
Well, it looks like it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hopefully they're not doing training circles.
Do you ever hunted in that? When they're doing training? I mean, irritate the hell out of you when you're trying to listen. Anyway.
So these heads, if you go to that video, I show the head being pushed through a potato. And I show a double bevel head, I show a 3-blade head, and then I show a single bevel head. And you can see where the single bevel starts to rotate. The reason why we use a potato is because it's pretty dense. It's not a bone, I got that, but it's harder than meat.
Yeah.
And it actually shows the single bevel rotating because they are a mechanical tool. They react to the material they hit. So if you hit something soft, they don't rotate that much. If you hit something hard, they start rotating because of the way they're designed. The pressure from the material they hit creates torque, or it doesn't. It's never the same. So I would recommend normal shot angles. Vital V's fine, but if you got a hard cording tube bull elk or something, I really am going to say don't take that shot. You do what you want.
Where in comparison with the single bevel, you would say
600, 650 grains, I would say all day long on that, right? With a good one-piece single bevel that's super sharp. That's the difference. However, for beginners, people moving up and all that stuff, if you're going to take the next step, these things are stupid easy to sharpen.
Yeah. So so basically what you're saying, and that makes a lot of sense, is to go from something like a replaceable blade, like a Slick Trick or a Muzzy or Thunderhead, to try to take the next step.
Right, and 4 to center.
Yeah.
So you're going up, and this is a 200 grain head. And if you buy these, then you're going to go up in 4 to center. We're going to try to see all the aero flight stuff. We have been shooting it through the aero gun. So that's the Rocket Man's aero gun. You put basically a big primer in here, and it blows gas through here. And that thing shoots how fast?
About 350 feet per second.
With that shaft?
Yeah.
And it's been shooting great out to what, 40?
Yeah, 40 here in the
The head's
yard.
been shooting good.
Head's been shooting really good. And the reason this weekend that I'm shooting this head, it's new to me, but I like the idea of it being a 3-blade as opposed to a 2-blade, especially out of this gun, because for one particular reason, and that is 3 blades inherently are easier to tune than 2 blades are. And I say inherently is because, well, think of it on this side of the arrow, you've got 3 fletches. And really, you would never think about putting 2 fletches on an arrow and shooting it, although I'm sure you could, and some people probably have. Thinking of the Slingshot channel and Jorg Sprav, I know he does that. But normally, you'd want 3 fletches back here. And the reason that is because if you have a gust or some lift, the arrow is the same this way as it is that way, as it is in any roll orientation. Its response to a disturbance is the same. Where a 2-blade, you can imagine, you know, if the 2-blade is vertical, it's not generating any lift as it's pitching up and down. But if the 2-blade is horizontal, then it's going to generate some lift out there in front. And so to counteract that, you have to roll the arrow. We were talking yesterday about asymmetries. Well, a 2-blade is a built-in desired asymmetry to an arrow. And it has its advantages at the penetration point, and that's why people use them. But in the flight mechanics, the 3-blade is king. It's called trigonal symmetry.
So you guys are basically talking a dumbed down version now. It's for like how I'm understanding this is you're shooting this 3-blade, you're basically matching the fletching, and therefore you're going to it's going to be easier to tune, it's going to be easier to get better arrow flight than it would be with the 2-blade because you're not having those things line up. Is that right?
Well, so let's be clear here. I'm not talking about orienting the blades on the 3-blade with the fletching in the back. In my personal opinion, that's not worth doing.
Okay,
especially
because they're too far apart.
Because they're too far apart, and your spin rate will be different. That means the air molecules that hit this side of this blade don't necessarily hit that same fin in the back, and so it sounds nice, but in reality, it's just impractical. It doesn't work that way. However, it does work in the fact that if it's roll oriented like this and pitches up, or if it's roll oriented like this and pitches up, you'll get the same pitch response for no matter what the roll orientation is. And because of that, it makes it easier to tune.
Okay.
Flies better.
So the 3-blade is going to be easier to tune, and that's kind of why that would be, again,
from an aerodynamics perspective, right?
The next step up.
Right. And that's the aerodynamics piece that I didn't even take into consideration. I was thinking about you're going forward to center, you're going to 200 grains, and it's easy to sharpen. It's a big jump, and we talked about this yesterday, to jump straight from replaceable to go to a really high quality single bevel and then learn the art of sharpening. It is. It's a new skill, and you got to put your head down. These guys, you literally get a flat stone or anything, and you push them 3 times, and you roll it, and you push them 3 times, and you roll it, and you push them 3 times, and you roll it.
And then you're getting sharp.
And they're getting sharp, and then you get a strop, which is in the Ranch Fairy store as well, and you strop backwards, and you can get a hell of an edge on the thing. So it's simple. It's one piece, not going to bend, not going to break, forward to center, normal shot angles. So I was talking to Seth at Sirius, and I said, let's just come out with a 3-blade to help people who are like, I am not jumping straight to a hand sharpenable. A lot of the single bevels that come out now, the other brands are dull. Yeah. They send them to you with a big burr on them, and you got to go to work. And it's an art. Yeah. And a lot of people have never sharpened anything.
And that kind of comes back to you're talking about the journey. So you're saying,
right.
And that makes more sense to me, because my argument with this compared to the single bevel is like, why would I not shoot the thing that's going to penetrate
the
most? So,
I got that.
That's always where that's why when I say I wouldn't even consider personally shooting this, but, you know, it's, I guess that's just my take on it.
But you've made the jump.
Right.
You're already there.
Right. So it's like,
you've seen it. We've seen you shoot deer, and before the deer's down, you're going like this, and then the deer goes down behind you.
Yeah.
You're already there. But we got lots of people who are wondering, thinking, what do I do? I'd love to do this, but I do not think I'm capable of sharpening. Yeah. And I'm telling you, you get something like this, and then this thing also has, Ted, zoom in here. So we put a pyramid point, and you can see that you do not want a 3-blade that goes up to a very pointy point. You do not want it to possibly bend over.
Do you have an example of that here?
I don't have one here, but it's very common for the one pieces to not have this pyramid on them. Right here, this little pyramid on top. Take the next step, take decent shot angles, gets it sharp, not going to bend, not going to break, and the only reason you're going to not have them is you lose them. Like they're all bloody. The one that Warb's got on his bow, Warb's got one in his quiver, and it's got chunks on it.
Yeah.
This one's got blood on it, not a lot, but it's got a little bit of chunks on it because I shot a pig with it already. And so I just sharpened it up, and you save a bunch of money doing that too.
Yeah, the benefit then would be, you're not replacing blades. You've got broadheads that you can reuse
Right.
as long as you don't lose them, like you said.
Right.
And that's the benefit of this versus the replaceable. And the thing about the replaceable is, like we talked about many times, is when you shoot and hit a bone or hit dirt on the backside even,
Yeah.
like that thing's trashed, generally.
Generally
I mean,
speaking.
I've not seen too many broadheads that have made it through
Right.
a deer and are,
Right.
able
I skipped
to
one of the
reuse.
prototypes. I shot through a pig and skipped it off a feeder leg, and it was fine.
Yeah.
It wasn't even dented, right?
Mhm.
And I just sharpened it up and kept going. So, like I said, I'm not talking out of both sides of my mouth. This is for the person taking the next 2 steps. Listen, I'm going to start saying this a lot, and I've been saying it a lot on podcasts and stuff. This is the only dadgum thing that matters. Delivering it, and then this is your whole hunting season.
Mm-hmm.
And we got camouflage underwear, back bars that match your hat. I'm serious, right? I don't do any of that stuff. I got the most basic bow, and I'm a not very good form. But there's so much focus on whether your camo matches, what you're wearing. Got to have a hunting public shirt. I'm not knocking you guys, but you're thinking about things that don't kill a deer.
This should be number one, and everything else is secondary
right. It
to
should
this.
be it should be secondary to
Yeah.
that. Yeah. So you had some thoughts on, because you're a ground guy. Taking this stuff, gnawing the freaking bark
I'm
off.
not paying any attention. so my argument against this was just that there's going to be a lot of situations where I've got deer close. They may be quartering to slightly, and I don't want to have to worry about shooting a wedge and hitting that front shoulder. So that's why I choose a single bevel
Right.
versus a 3-blade. In the past, I've shot slick trick a lot, and I have one specific example which I texted you about. It was 2019, and I was hunting with Grant. I stalked up on a buck, bedded with a doe, and when he stood up, he came in quartering to me. Well, I had a wedge broadhead, a 3-blade slick trick, or I guess what are slick tricks, 4 blades, but it had the wedge
Had
on
a point
the
on
end.
the front of it and all that, right?
And the deer's quartering to me, and he was 22 yards or whatever. And I waited and waited and waited, and I ended up holding the draw. He moved. I miscalculated the range. Had I just shot him right when he stood up and slightly quartering to, which I would now with the slight single bevel, then I think I would have potentially eliminated those mistakes. It's all on me, but the point is now that I'm not shooting this, I feel much more confident with that slightly quartering to angle. And it's a shot that I'm going to take. You've seen us do it in the past. If
Yeah.
you've watched our videos, you know, you can take that shot, especially at close range. I'm not talking
40,
45 yards, but, you know, anything inside of 20 yards.
Well, we know Warb cut the humerus ball in half,
Yeah, exactly.
right?
Exactly.
On
and
a
that's
big deer.
and that's a single
That was
bevel
not a
broadhead.
doe, a 2-year-old doe. That was a big man-sized deer.
That's the perfect example of what I'm talking about, where
Right.
you got that situation.
on the ground.
Right. Now with this, you just can't do that. Like you said,
Right.
it's just not going to work. Not to say that you shouldn't shoot this head, because again, it's still better than a mechanical with a light head. 100 grain mechanical is not going to do the same thing that this thing does.
That's right.
So it's just a step up. If you get this down, you feel confident, then it gives you time to learn how to do the next step.
Right.
Sharpen a single bevel. And,
Right, and
you
start
know,
tinkering.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And
So
I mean,
that's the
there's-
message, right?
yeah,
2
there's-
more steps forward.
There's never anything wrong with this. And I love a slick trick too. The majority of the deer that I shot prior to shooting single bevel a couple of years ago was with a slick trick, and pass-throughs, I think every time, honestly. But I was always concerned about that front shoulder, where now I don't feel as concerned
you're limited.
because I've seen proof with Warb, heard plenty of stories, and you back up that will work. So that's my
Right.
reasoning.
So yeah, that's the thing. Then we're back to where I started, which is normal shot angles
Yeah.
with this thing. But it'll be sharp, won't break, won't bend, ain't gonna fail. Flight with the Rocky Man covered. But we don't take crazy shots with it,
Yep.
and you'll be fine. All right, great job.
That's a
That's-
3-blade broadhead.
That's the thing.